Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, so my questions are for Rowena Howie from the FSB and Richard Burge from the London Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So as a first question, can you give us any insight about your members' experience of seeking support from the Mayor's Growth Hub during this period? So Rowena, do you want to start?
Certainly. We have had a range of experiences of people contacting the London Growth Hub, and I think it is fantastic that right away in early May, more of those services were immediately put online. I think we're all working together in terms of creating more signposting for small businesses on where to go to get the relevant information and how to make sense of the advice that is out there. So London Growth Hub has played a pivotal role. As always, there can be good feedback and bad, but I think it's largely based upon the fact that many businesses are at very different points in their journey. Everybody has experienced lockdown differently. I think in the first wave, there was very much a focus on just understanding the information, and that was very excellently done. Those people that were able to look ahead and think 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years ahead, after the bigger, more complex questions, maybe the simple advice was not enough and that they would be looking for a stepped up level of advice. Now, the London Growth Hub is providing one-on-one appointments as well. So I would hope that the one-on-one appointments would be, as we go along, more heavily tailored towards different needs.
Thank you. And do you have any sense from the FSB? Do you keep any equalities data in terms of who the businesses that are applying for support and looking to the Growth Hub for support? Do you have any sense of that data?
I wouldn't have figures on people who've applied to London Growth Hub, no. Maybe the Growth Hub themselves do.
Rajesh, are you able to let us know is the Growth Hub collecting equalities data on the businesses that are applying for support through the Growth Hub?
We can certainly come back to you on that.
That would be great. I'm just concerned that BAME businesses are accessing support in the same numbers as other businesses. So that would be good if you could come back on that. Thank you. Something I just wanted to bring in at this point. I had a meeting with someone in the city up the other day, and they were saying that there's 98% of the businesses in the city are small and micro businesses, and they have about 50% of the jobs. But the majority of their clients are in the 2% of businesses that provide the other 50% of jobs in the city in those big gleaming glass towers. And so I'm just wondering if you're aware of concern about those particular small businesses, say in the city, that are dependent on office workers returning to work, where it looks like those offices are not going to be filled for quite a while yet because of the social distancing problems, particularly with lifts and also with people actually making their way into London. Is that something that Rowena or Richard, that you've heard people being worried about, just as another difference between the small and the big?
Absolutely. I mean, it's not just the city either. It is all of central London, and I can say that as a retailer in the West End with a small boutique there. For instance, or I can speak personally that on my street and speaking to small businesses that are similar on many high streets around London, the local coffee shop may have been just getting by with a sort of a loose takeaway service, but in fact, 95% of their business relies on the return of the office workers. And it's not just waiting for a date such as 4th of July of a holy grail of when everybody's going to return. We're all aware that there's going to be phased working in terms of coming back to offices in central London. So in that particular instance, one office will be bringing 40% of its workers back in early July, but then will be maybe only housing a quarter of its staff at any one point for the next 6 months until next year when they review the scenario. So yes, I'd definitely say that small businesses who rely heavily on not necessarily local footfall, but very specifically what you're saying, the employees of large offices that are all over the capital, I think that is a very important point, and how that could be addressed.
Caroline,
Thank you. Richard.
Yeah, I'd reiterate what Rowena was saying, just add a couple of other things. One is, I think there is this issue of density of supply. And I think there's a lot of concern across businesses in the centre of London that while they desperately need tourism, both domestic and international back, we mustn't underestimate the amount of their business which is dependent upon the flow of commuter workers into London to provide them with the bulk of their business. The second thing is not just about when people come back. It goes to the point of just when do your consumers return. And I think people will be setting up businesses, and micro businesses particularly do not have the working capital available to stay open for long unless consumers actually appear pretty quickly, which is why the L&P program is hugely important. Final things, I don't think this is going to be short term, this is going to be long term and possibly permanent, is the density of people commuting into London on a daily basis into the centre going to decline to the level that the micro business infrastructure which supports them is going to be sustainable at current levels? Or are we going to see small businesses go simply because there isn't the density of people coming in every day? And that might be a permanent change. So we have to think again, I think, about the economic structure of the centre of London and things that government may need to do to possibly encourage maybe a return to more residents in the centre of London than there is at the moment.
And also, obviously, sort of where people are living, the opportunities for coffee shops and people are more working from home. We're going to be looking at more sort of 15-minute neighbourhoods all over London with different economic opportunities, rather than everything being focused on the very centre.
Yeah, and that could be very, very exciting. So I'm not saying what I've just said about the centre of London is overall a bad thing, but what we have to do is plan for that as well as plan for a potential in the outer boroughs, an increase, a more mixed economy appearing there than the commuter economy.